Hello, this is Monique McDonald. And if you're looking for more one-on-one help with your voice and how to make it magnetic, I want to invite you to check out my coaching packages at themagneticvoice.com. Then click Transform with Monique and book a complimentary connection call. Let's see if we can find a package for you that will fit all of your needs. I'm so grateful for your listening to the Magnetic Voice podcast, and I can't wait to meet you and continue the conversation. Take care. See you soon.
Welcome to the Magnetic Voice, here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel, a show where speakers and singers learn how to be more magnetic and align their voices to the divine within. Today, episode 60, We Stand for Women. And now your host, Monique McDonald.
Hello, and welcome to the Magnetic Voice podcast. My name is Monique McDonald, and I am so grateful and happy to be here today with my partner, Shannon Kropf. Hey, Shannon.
Hey, Monique. How are you today?
I love that we always start with laughs and joy.
People must think we're a little crazy, but we always joke around right before we start. And so we always start from this place of like, I'm giggling. Woo-hoo.
Yes. Yes. Well, our episode today is called We Stand for Women. Happy International Women's Day. It was the
Happy
8th.
International Women's Day.
And this month we are celebrating women. And so you are a woman that I want to celebrate this month, Shannon.
And you are a woman that I always want to celebrate, Monique.
It's such an interesting thing that, I actually heard a guy say, well, we don't have a International Men's Month. And I said,
no, we just have an International Men's existence history through the dawn of time.
It is an interesting idea, though, isn't it? That that we do need to put aside time to focus our attention on the women that have gone before us and the women to come, the girls.
Yeah.
Right? And what influence are we having with the girls coming up behind us? And are we speaking up? Are we standing up for them? What are we showing them? Who are we? And are we aware as women that someone is always watching?
Right.
Right?
I feel like I have so many thoughts on this.
Right? It's a big subject.
It is a big subject. And sometimes I'm like, women are people too. Mm-hmm. Don't be down on women. And then at other times I'm like, ladies, just shut up, do your thing.
Well, but yes, I do get that. There is like with everything, you can go out of balance in order to find balance.
That's right.
And I think that,
right.
I happen to be a lady who likes to have my door opened for me. And
nice,
and I am very independent. And I think that there's always a balance within and without of the divine feminine and the divine male and the women and men of our world. And we are living in a time where so many people are screaming for their rights right now. Many people are feeling marginalized in one way or another.
Right.
And, I work with a lot of women on their voice, and it is sort of a thing that women have a little more trouble in general. This is a huge generalization.
Of course. Yeah.
Standing in their power and speaking than men. And based on our culture and a lot of the silent messages that women get that they should be seen and not heard, like children,
Right.
interestingly enough.
Yep.
And that men, a lot of the time, are more comfortable with the microphone and feel like they should be seen and heard as much as possible. However, there are men that need that too. So as we discuss this today, I want us always to keep in mind that the divine feminine is within each of us. Right. And yes, this month is the month that we've set aside to celebrate women, past, present, and future. And also to know that there are men who celebrate that too, and to not put men aside. Can I say that?
Right.
Because
as a matter of fact, that's one of the things that blesses me the most is when I see a male person stand up for, Dave's that kind of guy. He's like, we shouldn't have female or woman as a modifier for anything. You shouldn't be a female composer or a woman pilot. That's just ridiculous because we don't have male composers and male pilots. So it's really great to hear him and other guys talk about things like that. It helps me feel validated. Not that I need his approval or need his validation, because I'm just going to be over here doing me.
Right.
I've worked in a male-dominated industry my entire life and never really thought much about it, honestly. Excuse me, until, the past 10 years or so. But I want to back up for 1 second.
Sure.
You said I'm a lady who likes to have the door open for me.
Yes, I am.
And I think that's lovely. But you know what? I think it's a matter of intention, because if someone's going to open the door for me because I'm female, which means that I'm the weaker sex and I can't open the door for myself and I'm unable to deal with life, that's one thing. But if they're opening the door for me because it's a human to human respect and they love me or they want to support me in some way, and here's one easy little way to do it, then great. So I just choose to assume that everybody has a great motivation.
Well, that's what I was exactly going to say. We have no way of knowing what people's intention is when they make a gesture like that. I know that I'm a strong, independent woman that can open my own door. So I choose to take that action as, please let me hold the door for you, just as I would hold the door for somebody if I got there first.
Absolutely.
But it is something that is important to discuss, which is we don't know what people's intentions are. And so in our pursuit of the divine feminine and finding strength and femininity and standing up for women, we always have to, I feel that we have to, to choose our moments, choose our battles, right?
Absolutely.
I feel like there's something to be said always with giving the benefit of the doubt. And then there are very blatant things that need to be addressed. And I feel that is part of going within and really getting clear about your intentions or our intentions.
Right.
Is it to make a point? Is it to convince somebody to think the way that I think? Or is it more powerful to just be what it is that we want to see more of in the world? Which brings me to our quote for today. Each time a woman stands up for herself, without knowing it possibly, without claiming it, she stands up for all women. And that is from the great Maya Angelou.
Of course.
And she goes on to say, I would like to be known as an intelligent woman, a courageous woman, a loving woman, a woman who teaches by being. I've learned that I still have a lot to learn. And I think that, there's so much good stuff in there. Let's break it down. First of all, I remember talking to my mother about this, and she would, and it was all about, how I carried myself in the world and how important that was. And I remember saying to her, I was younger. I was probably a teenager. And I said, yeah, but I just want to be me. Why do I have to worry about, who's looking and what they think about how I'm acting? And her response to me was, because you want to represent yourself as you truly are.
Right.
And you never know who's looking. You never know whose life you can change or what decisions people make about you based on experiencing you for one moment.
Of course. Yeah.
And then that gave thought to what we were speaking about earlier, intention. And because, I get to relax, I get to be me, but I also need to always be aware of who am I becoming?
Right.
Because who I'm becoming, when I think of life from those terms, who do I want to be? Who do I want to show up in the world as? And one of my favorite concerts that I ever did, and I've done a lot of concerts, was a concert that I gave here in New York City, and it was Heavy as the Head. And it was a concert of queens and arias and songs about queens.
Nice.
And it was the year that Hillary Clinton was running for office. And for the first time, right, we were actually considering having a female president. Well, as we know, that didn't go very well. Yeah. But the thing that was amazing for me with this concert was that I got an opportunity to go into middle schools and public middle schools and high schools and talk to the girls about what would it mean to them if we had a female president, and what is a queen and what does that mean? And yes, of course, in America, we don't have that kind of aristocracy. Oh, what? Aristocracy.
You were so in the flow, man. It's like your brain forgot.
Exactly. But we all have this type, this archetype in our being of what a queen is, right?
Right.
And what does that mean? And so I'll never forget. So I had them close their eyes. So these girls are from, 12 to 18 years old, right? 12 to 14 for the middle school, and then, 14 to 18 for the high schools. And I had them close their eyes, and I said, okay, now I want you to sit like a queen and feel your posture like a queen and say your name as though you're a queen. And it was one of the most beautiful things that I've ever gotten to it was so organic. Wow. And I just got to see these girls be their vision of an important woman.
Right.
And then I got to take them all. And for some of them, it was the first time they'd ever gone to a concert.
Wow.
And I got to take them all to the theater, and they got to see me. And then I talked to them afterwards and did a Q&A after the concert. And I really feel like, I've sung for kings and queens actually in my career. I've sung at Carnegie Hall. I've sung in a lot of really important places. But that concert, man, concert was one of the most important ones I think I've ever done. And I want to do more like that. But back to our story. That idea of every time a woman stands up for herself without knowing it, possibly, without claiming it, she stands up for all women.
Mm-hmm.
When we start to live our lives from that truth as women, what do you think would change?
That's a great question.
It is, because it's very subtle, right? It's not like, I stand for what, it's,
right.
It's, and I'm not saying there's not a place for that, but just in everyday life.
Mm-hmm.
And then Miss Angelou goes on to say what she would like to be known as. Okay. What kind of woman she would like to be known as. So I just want to invite you, Shannon, and me, and all of the women listening to us today. What do you want to be known as? What kind of woman would you like to stand up for and give voice to? Intelligence, courage, love. What kind of woman do you want to be? Because I know that whether we are aware of it or not, whether we claim it out loud or not, we represent women.
Yeah.
We represent the women in our past, and we represent the women that are becoming right now. Mm-hmm. And I think it's so important. And standing up for yourself in the midst of whatever life is bringing you right now is one of the hardest things not just women do, but anybody does.
Sure, absolutely.
It's so much easier to just follow the leader and join the crowd, to not make waves, to just go along with whatever is. But when we have the courage to stand up and say, no more, I won't take this anymore. When we stop tolerating, we've been taught so well. I think especially as women, we tolerate a lot before we finally say no.
Yeah. And it goes back to that messaging, be seen and not heard.
That's right. Absolutely.
And all the other crap that comes along with that. Like, if a woman is assertive, she is the B word. Not nice. The B word. As a matter of fact, well, I can't tell that story.
Oh no, you got us all excited and you won't tell the story.
I'll just say this. I was in leadership in a room at a place, and I asked somebody to do something, and he turned around and went, "What an effing B." So maybe we need to edit this out. I don't know. But all I did was ask him to be quiet, please. So, and it's stuff like that. It's like, oh, man. Okay. Well, I was just standing here in my power, and that's your issue and not mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's so many stories like that. And I think that especially some of my clients who, spent their lives in corporate, they basically had to strip away their femininity in order to be there, is what they have told to me. And they talk about this monotone that they had to adapt to their voice.
Right.
So that they wouldn't be too powerful or wouldn't be too weak. So they tried to be.
That's just not right for any human.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. And all the little ways that we as women try to, it is our nature to flow with what is happening, right? And so if we're following our nature, we want to accommodate. We want to, it is sort of our nature. But because that's usually how we go when we actually stand up and say, oh, nope, here's the line.
Yep.
All is well. But no. And I remember the first time someone said to me, no is a complete sentence.
Right. Isn't that beautiful?
It did not compute. It did not compute because I had always felt the need to explain,
to qualify. Yeah.
Explain why I couldn't accommodate or tolerate.
Right. Absolutely. I suffer from that still.
Well, and then I get to the point where I realize how important it is to find, to help people become aware. I had a session with a potential client yesterday, and she had been told that her voice was annoying.
Oh, yeah.
Which is not so nice,
That's
right?
hard. Yeah, right.
Not
right.
So, who likes that? And so my question to her was, so how did you adapt after getting that piece of feedback?
Interesting. And what did she say?
And she said, well, I figured that my voice was too high and that's what was annoying. So I just forced myself to speak lower. And I feel like that's a really good example of some of the things we do when we don't feel acceptance for speaking our truth, for existing, for saying our own thoughts and standing up for ourselves. We make the adjustment within ourselves instead of, you don't have to listen. Go into the other room if my voice is annoying you. That's another choice. But no, that doesn't occur to us.
Right.
We adjust and on some level dim our light or force ourselves to be something that we're not.
Right. Yep.
So that brings us to, if I'm not gonna dim my light and force myself to be something that I'm not, well, actually, because normally that's not a conscious choice. Right. It's an unconscious adjustment that most of us make.
Yeah.
And it really isn't until things get so bad that you can't tolerate one more little thing that you explode and you're like, and then you finally say no, right? And so, so what I would like to talk about today is this idea of, before it gets there, that we consciously choose who we want to be.
Yeah.
Who we want to aspire to embody as women. Right? One of my favorite things that that Maya Angelou said at the end of her quote is, a woman like that I think has given voice to so many things that I think we as women have thought but never said, right?
Right.
I've learned that I still have a lot to learn.
Absolutely.
As we choose to stand for women today, and I hope every day, from now on to embody the kinds of woman that we want to be for ourselves in our lives and for the young girls watching us.
Yeah.
I think it's important to listen. Listen to other women and their struggles. Listen to the girls and what they're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, I don't know about you, but let me talk about me. I think I leave myself out of that conversation because it's like they start talking about whatever cartoon or video game is going on in the moment. And I'm just like, oh, I have nothing to contribute to this conversation.
Right.
And so I sort of tune out and one of the things that I want to work on as I'm sitting here talking about standing for women, I want to listen because it's like learning a new language for those young girls.
Right.
And if I commit to being there and hearing their experience through the video game or however they need or want to express it, that I'm there asking questions and wanting to know, really.
Yeah. And we all want to be heard. And so that's really the connection point there, regardless of gender or fluidity or whatever. We all want to be known and heard and loved. And so not tuning out during a discussion of the video game is a way to consciously provide that connection for that person.
Absolutely. And to remember that every time I stand up for myself, I'm showing other women how to stand up for themselves. So when I do it, I want to know, how am I going to do it? Am I going to slam out of the room?
Right.
Am I going to yell and scream about injustice? How am I going to stand up for myself? Because I want to be consciously aware of who I am.
Right.
How I show power. I have a voice of power assessment, and anyone within the sound of my voice can go to the website, themagneticvoice.com and sign up for a voice of power assessment. And when we get to the question of the assessment, what does power look like to you? Most people think of power as something bad, and they equate it with control.
Oh, interesting.
Which is very interesting because that just tells me that in their life experience, like a lot of people,
yes,
the only time they saw power that they recognized as power was someone exerting control over them.
Interesting.
Especially women.
Yeah,
feeling that they are being controlled either by the media, by, needing to look a certain way to be beautiful, by, corporate, by, finance. To be a powerful, strong, successful woman means you have to not be feminine and beautiful.
Right.
I mean, these are unspoken messages, right? But we're getting those messages and feeling controlled by them. And to be able to talk about what true power is, that true power doesn't need to convince or control.
Right.
That real, true, to see a woman standing in her power and standing up for herself is really magnificent because she is teaching us just by being herself.
Yeah. Power is a very still thing when it's done correctly. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Like I'm not reaching out to control anybody. I had a lady, wonderful lady, still friends to this day, But I was asking a staff to do, a task or whatever. And I don't know, she got mixed up in it somehow. I don't know. But when we were talking it out and making sure everything was okay, she was like, "You're just so authoritative." And I was like, I asked you to send me an email. What are you talking about? I wasn't doing power. I was being power.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah.
Very, very different way of thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Doing power as opposed to being power.
Yep.
Well, my dear friend, you are one of the most powerful women I know, and it is so much fun sharing our life together and inspiring each other and holding each other up. And
Absolutely.
I hope that we did that for some women out there listening today.
Yes. And let me just say, before we kind of close this off in a meditation, anybody who's listening who loves music should listen to the Andy Grammer song called Ladies.
Ooh.
It is exactly what we just talked about. I would play it for you if we could, if it wasn't copyright infringement. My sisters, my daughters and wives, girls, you are learning how to shine your light, dedicate some of your life, stand for them all.
I love
you
that.
Are beautiful. You are beautiful. You don't even have to try. You are beautiful, more than you can realize. And so on. It's just
that sounds gorgeous. Say the name again and the title.
Andy Grammer. And it's from that first record. It's called Ladies. And it's a great song. Yeah. And it's what he's doing is his mother, who passed when he was 25, is telling him how to treat women in his life.
Oh, that's just
so
beautiful.
It's her advice to him to stand up, spend some of your life standing for them all, which, woo, amen.
Yes. Thank you so much for that, Shannon. And for all those of you listening, all the women listening, and all the men who love women listening.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for standing with us for women today. Tell one of the women in your life, or all of them in some way, what they mean to you and how much you want to hear their voice. And remember that we stand and speak for those who have no voice.
Yes.
All right, here we are. Here we are in our strength and power. Here we are standing for all women. Whether you are a woman or a man who loves women, welcome to the divine, loving spirit of the feminine. As we breathe together, we surround ourselves with this divine feminine power. We remind ourselves that we are reflections of all the women in the past. Some who had voice, some who didn't. Some who felt they could fight and be heard, and some who just silently were our teachers. I invite the women listening today to decide with me. Who do you want to become? What is your specific flavor of womanhood? Is it courage? Is it intelligence? Is it love? Is it power? Is it all of the above? Who do you want to become? What do you want to project into the world so that young women can look at you and say, I want to be like that? Or, I can't wait to have a conversation with that woman because I bet she has something to teach me. So as we breathe and know together the divine feminine, as we open ourselves up to the question, if I stand for women, how will I stand? How will I feel my feet on the earth? How will I hold my head? How will I breathe? What will I say? If I knew that I was the sum of every woman that came before me, and the blessing for every woman that comes after me, what would I say? How would I live? Today, I invite you to choose, and then choose again, and feel all of those energies woven in and through you, because you are your own unique woman. And we are so grateful for you and your courage. And we're so grateful for the men who love the women in their lives. And we thank you for spending this time to honor and stand for women everywhere. With blessings and love, we say thank you. And so it is. Amen.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Magnetic Voice here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Magnetic Voice is copyright 2022 Monique McDonald, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Kropf and used with permission. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.
Hey friends, Sean here, your Experience of the Soul producer. I want to take a moment to tell you about something truly exciting. The SoulWorks online community, created by your host, Cynthia Alice Anderson, and available on the Mighty Networks app. If you're looking for a place where you can explore your spiritual path, connect with others, and grow in a meaningful way, then this is for you. SoulWorks is so much more than an online community. It's a safe, inclusive space for spiritual exploration, self-discovery, and personal transformation. Inside the community, you'll find everything from uplifting spiritual studies to soul-centered growth practices, meditations, affirmations, and so much more. It's a space where you'll always be supported and never judged. The best part, membership is free. You'll have access to powerful resources, inspiring content, and a supportive group of like-minded people who are all on their own unique spiritual journeys. And if you're ready to dive deeper, there are premium options available to enhance your experience with a live Monday night talk series and extended, deeper meditations. If you're seeking a place to connect, grow, and nurture your soul, we would love to have you join us in the SoulWorks community and see where this journey can take you. Visit my.soulworkscommunity.com today.